We're going to look at how we harness our brainwaves for peak performance. In a knowledge economy, what can we take from neuroscience to keep our brains and our bodies in peak condition? I am completely passionate about the idea that our brains and bodies are completely connected and we need to use both. So what I'm going to invite you to do today is go on a little journey of inspiration. And because I was asked, could I make sure that people were inspired and energized for the rest of the day, there may even be a little perspiration. Are you all willing to come with me? Great, thank you. So, first of all, why are you at this session? Now, I know it's the keynote, so you've kind of been asked. But just have a think about what might you know, what might you learn, what would be useful for you to think about in terms of improving your performance, but also improving the performance of the people you work with, your people you work for. So just spend 1 minute thinking about that and maybe have a very quick conversation with the person next to you. Okay. There's nothing I like more than hearing a room of people chattering about what they want, what their purpose is, what they want to get out of it. One of the reasons I've asked you to do that is, to get you a little bit engaged to start with, but also because purpose and support actually improve performance. So it's really important if you're trying to help people improve their performance that you help them find a purpose for performing and that they get that appropriate support. So just very quickly, maybe from a couple of people, why are you here? You're going to have to shout somebody. Somebody, what do you want to get out of this session? Somebody over here? Somebody brave? Thank you.
I'm really looking to be inspired to go beyond what I know today and what's going to help us move towards the future. So like a little nugget.
Cool. Thank you, Evelyn. And somebody over here.
Get my new job for 2023.
Oh, very good. Excellent. That's a really good purpose in life. Fantastic. Good luck with that. I hope you really have a fantastic experience in finding it in the first place. Okay. So we are all facing performance challenges personally. We're facing performance challenges as organizations. So we've got, the great resignation. People are leaving. They're taking great performance with them. They're taking great ideas away with them. We've got people working flexibly. So we've got people working from home, people working in the office, people working in a hybrid way. That also causes challenges to performance. There was quite a lot of debate going on with a CIPD report that was released recently where people were not entirely sure that people who worked from home were actually working at all. Personally, having worked from home for many, many years, I know that people work very, very well from home. We've got the upskill generation, this whole idea that there are many, many skills that we have to have. We don't even know what those new skills might be yet, and our skills have to keep changing faster and faster, and there's no kind of apparent reduction in that. And then we've got this, we're still on this COVID effect, this push to fully digital. We all embraced Zoom, and thank you so much to Zoom, or else where would we be? Other options are available, of course. But are we always on? It's really hard now to get away from get away from work. Is that always being on affecting our performance? So which one of those is perhaps causing you the biggest challenge in your organization or even in your personal performance? Which one of those is causing you the most challenge right now? One of the things that was at the beginning of this session was that we're in a knowledge economy. But I really, truly believe we're not in a knowledge economy. We're in a skills economy. Knowledge is great. We're in a place where knowledge is very, very important. But without skills, without using that knowledge, we cannot move forward. So I think it's really important we start thinking about a skills economy. And I think for me, that relates so strongly to, the knowledge is kind of in our heads, but the skills have to be in our heads and our bodies. So whether we're using cognitive skills, whether we're using physical skills, we need to make sure our brains and bodies are fully connected in order to perform well. At the end of this session, I'm going to share a QR code with you, which will give you an insight, or if you want to go and do it, some insights into some brain myths that you may have heard. Mostly about learning, but also related to performance, of course. So at the end of it, I'm going to give you that. But just as a taster for that, did you know, and I've just heard that Trinity College are doing research on neuroscience, so I'm slightly nervous. There may be some people who know a whole heap about neuroscience more than me. But did you know that your brain creates enough electricity to light a light bulb? Your brain is full of electricity. And that's what we're going to explore. We're going to explore your brain waves. So I'm going to teach you a little bit of neuroscience, and then we're going to kind of understand how that applies to what we do. Now, there's no clock here, so I'm just going to keep an eye on the time as well. So, we have a multiplicity of brain waves, electrical activity going through our brains all the time. And all these brain waves are all present all the time. But at certain times, some of them predominate more than others. So, we have the delta brain waves, which are quite slow and steady, about 4 hertz. We have the theta brain waves, 4 to 8, alpha brain waves, 8 to 12, beta brain waves, 12 to 40, and the gamma brain waves, nice fast brain waves, 40 to 100 hertz. That's cycles per second. All very interesting. Now, if you're like me, and you're trying to make sense of the world, when I first came across brainwaves, I couldn't understand why were they delta, theta, alpha, beta, or, it depends where you start, gamma, beta. Doesn't make sense, does it? Actually, what it was is that alpha brainwaves were the first ones that were discovered, and then beta brainwaves were discovered. So it's actually the order in which they're discovered which dictates the alphabetical order of the brainwaves. For me, that was really important to get that kind of sense of understanding and clarity. So again, brains like patterns. Our brains are constantly looking for patterns. So if we want our brains to perform well, what we need to do is help them find the patterns, look for patterns, because our brains are really good at pattern matching. We often find patterns that don't even exist, which is why people often believe in coincidences not being coincidences at all, but there's a meaning behind it. So that's very interesting neuroscience, isn't it? But not terribly practical. So let's explore this a little bit deeper, and this time I do want to engage your brains and your bodies. So I'm going to ask for about, I think it's about 200 or 300 volunteers. And the first people I'd like to ask to volunteer are anybody who is really quite fit. You might have run a marathon, a half marathon, be a really regular kind of exerciser. Anybody wish to volunteer to? I can see people pointing at each other. They obviously know each other quite well. Everybody's going to get to do something. It's just some people are going to work a little bit harder than the others. But everybody's commitment will be valuable. So can I just see a raise of hands just to check that I've got some, you're going to be gamma brain waves. So we've got at least one, couple more gamma brain waves. Brilliant, thank you. Fantastic, we've got a few gamma brain waves in the room. Okay, the job will be gamma brain waves. I'm going to ask you to stand up and sit down every second for a minute when I say ready. I'm then going to invite kind of that part of the room to be beta brain waves. And you're going to stand up and sit down every 2 seconds. If you decide that's too much for me, you can choose to be an alpha or a delta or as well. But I'd like that part of the room to kind of represent beta brain waves. This part of the room, you're going to represent alpha brain waves. So you're going to stand up and sit down every 10 seconds. So you literally stand up, sit down, wait for the 10 seconds and come back, okay? Then this part of the room, quite cruisy over here for you, not too bad. You're going to be theta brain waves, so stand up and sit down every 20 seconds. And then this part of the room, you're incredibly important, and you'll find out why, but you're just going to stand up and sit down every 30 seconds. So you're only going to have to do it twice. Everybody know their role. Okay, so my role, I'm just going to take a quick sip of water. I need to make sure you're all on track. Are you ready? Because the minute this clicker goes, the time will start. Everybody ready? Just make sure you're not going to knock into anybody else. Don't knock any water over. Think about health and safety. Everybody ready? Okay, go. Gamma brainwaves, up, down, up, down, up, down. Beta brainwaves, you're going to stand up and sit down every 2 seconds. We should have an alpha brainwave about now. Yes, great, fantastic. So we've got this side of the room is very busy, and some gamma brainwaves are doing a brilliant job over there. We're going to have very shortly, we should have some theta brainwaves. Yes, marvellous, we've got them going. Your turn will come very soon. Gammas keep going, betas keep going. Alphas, you're doing a great job. And we're going to have some deltas in a minute. The deltas are going to take that. Yeah, fantastic. Well done, deltas. Keep going, everybody. You're doing a brilliant job. If you're a gamma, you are doing fantastically well. I'm going to keep an eye out for the gammas. We've got another theta going on. Fantastic. That's really good. And the deltas keep going. The alphas keep going. Gammas, you are doing amazingly. We should have another beta in a moment. And we're going up 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There's going to be an enormous brainwave over the entire room. Fantastic. Okay, well done. Thank you so much to all of you. Okay, what was it like to be a gamma brainwave? Exhausting, really exhausting, yes. You don't want to keep that up all day, do you? What was it like to be a beta brainwave? Quite tiring? Would you want to do that all day? Okay, what was it like to be an alpha? It was all right. Yeah, not bad. Thetas? Chilled. Engaged but chilled. Okay, that's a nice one. And what was it like to be a delta? Boring. Okay. Could have fallen asleep even, maybe. Okay, well, let's see why these brainwaves are so important to us and what's going on. Like I say, they're all going on all the time, but certain ones dominate at certain times. So our beta brainwaves are what we mostly do at work. When we're at work, we're thinking, we're doing, we're very busy. We're using those beta brainwaves. But what sometimes happens at work when we've really rather worn out our beta brainwaves, because remember this is using energy, it's using electrical energy, it's using chemical energy. You know, your brain is a hugely energy-hungry machine in your body. What happens when you sort of switch between beta? We often go into alpha, which is that kind of, you know, you find yourself sitting at your computer and you realize you've stopped typing, you've stopped doing anything, and you're kind of like, oh, yes, I'm not supposed to be working, aren't I? We go into theta. It's that kind of slow, reflective, often if we're doing a visualization or something, restful review, that feeling you have as you kind of wake up and just as you're falling asleep at night. What sort of things happen when you're in that brainwave state? Creative. That's when we're at our most creative, when we're not thinking and doing, when we're not focused, when we're actually being much more open. What happens is our default network starts to work, and we connect up far more parts of our brain, which enables us to be more creative. So alpha visualization, restful review, really helpful for creativity. Now, theta brainwaves are very predominant when we're in dream sleep, so rapid eye movement sleep. Incredibly important, specifically for learning, because evidence shows that when we are dreaming, our bodies are completely paralyzed. But our brains are still working, doing all the things that we did all day. So our brains are actively rehearsing things we've learned during the day. So anyone who, you know, plays an instrument, is trying to learn something that's quite physical, it seems to be particularly good for motor skills, rehearsing motor skills, you will find that you go to sleep at night, so particularly if you kind of practice towards the end of the day, You'll go to sleep at night, and when you wake up in the morning, that complicated scale you were trying, or that complicated tune, actually, that seems a lot easier this morning. There was an experiment they did with people doing downhill skiing training. I think it was all virtual. But they measured, they had different groups at different stages, and they measured those people who slept and dreamt overnight were much better at skiing the next morning than the people who had learned to ski in the morning and then lots of other things happened, so their day was disrupted, or people who just were tested in the morning and tested in the evening. So that dream sleep was hugely important for actually rehearsing what they needed to do. So in terms of skills, cognitive or physical, we need dream sleep. Delta is when we're in deep sleep, and deep sleep is hugely important to us. Anybody here who's had small children and missed out on deep sleep knows how important it is. If we don't get deep sleep, we actually die. There's a very unpleasant genetic condition, which is fortunately very rare, where people lose the ability to sleep. And the end result is, well, they go through sort of various stages of degeneration, and the end result is death. So we need deep sleep. And one of the reasons we need it is to build our memories. So all that information that comes into your brain in the day that you need to remember comes into your brain through many, many different sensory places. You're also using the stuff that's already in there. Goes into your hippocampus, gets kind of temporarily stored. And at night, when these delta brain waves are actually predominating, that's when they go back into the areas of your brain where they will be permanently stored. So if you don't sleep, you won't remember what you learned in the day. So my daughter said to me the other day, she said, my friend's got a real sleep problem at the moment. She can't sleep. And she keeps telling me, I can't remember anything, because she's not getting the deep sleep that she needs. Now, I haven't forgotten you gammas, because you are hugely important. Gammas are when we have a brainwave. Do you ever feel it when you have a really good idea? You can almost feel that buzz of electricity going through your brain. So gammas are when we have that real insight, light bulb moment of connectivity. Often experienced apparently in meditation. So for anyone who meditates, they'll recognize that they have these moments of insight. So whilst meditation feels like it should be a kind of alpha activity, then it will be dominated, or suddenly you'll have these gamma wave moments. Okay, so which brain waves do you think we're using mostly in the day? We're kind of forcing ourselves to use beta. We're trying to keep people on all day. We think when people are performing, they're doing things, they're seen to be doing things. But actually what we actually need is to give people that balance throughout the day. So I'd like you just to, again, have a quick conversation with your team, your people on your table, the person next to you, and think about, how can I enhance my performance? What can I do to influence peak performance amongst my colleagues, my employees, whoever I work with, family members even? So just spend a couple of minutes and then we'll see what ideas you've come up with, and I will share some of my ideas too. Off you go. How can you enhance peak performance? Okay, that's again a good level of discussion going on there, which is always nice to hear. So let's just very quickly get a quick survey from around the room about a few ideas you've come up with. I've got some too. We'll all have different ideas, but based on the neuroscience that you are now beginning to tap into, what could you do to enhance peak performance, either for yourself or somebody else? Wash the dishes. Just, can you shout out why, and I'll repeat when I hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to be more and I kind of walk away from to it, where it's like I want to wash the dishes, and I do have to come back, like have fresh eyes.
So doing something like washing the dishes, which is quite an easy repeat activity, you don't really have to think about it very hard. Men may have to think harder. Ignore that. You don't have to think about it very hard. But it allows your brain to switch off from that hard thinking. So those kind of, repetitive, simple activities, we've all had that kind of creative thinking when we're in the shower or going for a walk. So doing something quite mundane and monotonous, it's actually a really good way to just give your brain a bit of a break from that beta and let it go into alpha. Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Somebody else?
Split your learning of skills using a night's sleep for basically remember. That's critical. You know these one-day master classes or half-day? So you got it all then. Looks like you wouldn't. You'd actually need 2 sessions.
Yeah, so definitely split your learning up. And COVID has enabled us to do that. People kind of used to say, no, we have to bring everybody together. And we put them in 3. I did this last week. I went to a course and it was a whole week and it was, if we can split learning up over time, which we now can do, and we've now kind of realized the benefit of that, because then we sleep in between. So really important, split learning up. Don't expect everyone to just have stuff crammed in immediately. Fantastic, thank you. One more. Shout again. Working in sprints. So also making your work kind of much more piecemeal, bite-sized, chunk-sized. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so the ideas I had, you may well have had some of these. So, having walking meetings. You don't need to sit down always for a meeting. You can go on a walking meeting. And whilst, things like Zoom are great because we've got face-to-face, but actually you can just go on an audio meeting, go for a walk with your headphones on. You can have a meeting just as easily. Build in plenty of breaks. Actually, if you find yourself daydreaming, don't beat yourself up about it. Actually, just think to yourself, that was really good. I've just reset my brain. I would suggest what you do is you build that in more deliberately. But, go with it, live with it. Find your peaks. Individuals have different peaks. We're not all exactly the same. So find where your peak performance moments are. You will know. And that can change through your life. So as we're younger, we tend to be very bright and alert in the morning. As we get to sort of teenage years, and this is a huge generalization, we tend to become more night owl-ish and need more sleep. Teenagers definitely need lots and lots and lots of sleep because they're learning so much and they're developing so much too, of course. So, find your peaks. And as you get older, you tend to sort of shift back into the morning. So find your peaks, move more. We don't move enough. So that's why I've asked you to, move this morning. Get as much physical activity, because what physical activity does is it actually helps us to create something called human forgotten the exact word, a neurotrophic factor, that's what it's called. And it actually helps us grow better networks and more brain cells. And then turn off our devices, don't always be on. Certainly, and I'm sure most people here know this, the kind of the bright screens at night really disrupt your sleep. So even if you must use your phone at night, at least have it set on night mode. Those are the sorts of things you can do, and I'd love to hear later on if people have got other ideas that come and tell me what else you thought of. So we're trying to get performance, we're in a skills economy. What I'd like you to do now is just very quickly for yourself, think about what will I do differently to improve my performance? And I want you to do it in the form of a triggered action. So when I feel I'm daydreaming, I will take advantage of it by actually actively carrying on with it. Because when we commit to something, when we schedule something, we're much more likely to actually do it. So just take a moment to write down if you want to, or just think, when I do this, I will do that. And find a trigger for you that will help you adjust and change your behaviour to improve your performance. Or it might be your colleague's performance. Okay. I said that there was a quiz available, so you can scan that now, or you will have access to the slides. You can do it later, or come and ask me and I'll make sure you've got it. So if you want to know a little bit more, busting a few learning myths, a few neuroscience myths, then please do that quiz. I'm also going to leave up some links about 6 books every leader should read. Again, you'll have access to this through the slides that get sent out to you later. But what I would like to do just before we finish, because it's quite a warm room, I think we need to make sure it gets a bit cooler, because that will also be good for our performance. But what I'm going to ask to do is that we have one last brainwave, a Mexican brainwave, which, you know, this is the first time I've tried this. We'll have a go. We're going to start over here and we're going to ripple out so that everybody commits to having at least one brainwave, one inspiration, one insight today. Are you all up for that? So you don't necessarily need to stand at this time. We could just do the whole arm thing. So I'm going to start over here and let's see if we can get a real brainwave going. Are you ready? Go. I'm going to have an inspiration. I'm going to have an inspiration. Oh, it's lovely. Fantastic. Brilliant. Fantastic. I hope you have a really exciting day today. I'm sure there's going to be lots and lots of insights. And thank you so much for performing today.